All right, what's going on, everybody? It is time to dive into Thessalonians. First of all, let me welcome all of you. We're probably picking up a bunch of new teachers this week as we start our new classes this big Sunday, March the 7th, as we relaunch. I keep wanting to refer to it as the Great Reset for FBT, taking off of Klaus Schwab and all that preachers been preaching about, the One World Sunday School. This is Sunday. Here's the big thing I need you to do this week. Man, would you pray every day this week for this coming Sunday? Whether you're a new teacher starting with a new class this Sunday or whether you've been teaching since September, it's a big day. And we really need to ask the Lord to guide us and to direct us and to bless us, give us good weather, let people show up and all that kind of good stuff. So would you do that for me? Would you pray this week? And then the second thing is, of course, I need you here Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Now, what we do is we have a monthly teachers meeting. You heard me right. The word was monthly. It'll be the first Wednesday of every month most of the time. So that's this coming week, March the 3rd. We're going to meet because of the social distancing thing in the choir rehearsal room. Now, here's what I need you to do. Park in the main church parking lot, which is the one between the church and the funeral home, south side, the big one. And then I need you to walk in the entrance where that is closest to the sower, right? You have the sower's garden right there. So if you pull underneath that porte-cochere where you would drop people off, if you keep almost before you pull back out to the main driveway, there's an entrance right there. If you were walking past it to see the sower, you would pass it. That will take you down the long hallway behind the auditorium and into the choir rehearsal room. And that's where we will be. We're going to start right at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a fact-filled, fun-filled time together. And I'm looking forward to having us all in the same room. And that's this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. You're going to get your new roles. You're going to get your room assignments. We're going to need to contact everybody, whether it's in an old class or a new class, by Sunday to let them know about the schedule change as far as time goes, as well as the location, all that type of stuff. All right. So it's going to be a very important meeting. And we need everybody to be here if at all possible. If for some reason you're not going to be here, please let me know. And the sooner you let me know, the better, because we're going to need to get together before Sunday. All right, so here's the lesson. You can download it right here under Word or PDF. Of course, Word format, you can open it, you can edit it. And the PDF format obviously is where you can just open it and read it and print it. Just look at it. All right, you can't do any editing on it unless you pay big money for the software to do that. So what we're doing is we're beginning a series of messages, our lessons, and I'm going to give you, if you don't already have it, I'm going to give you a 1st and 2nd Thessalonians curriculum Wednesday night, where we're going to take a chapter a week. So like not this Sunday, but the 14th, it will be 1 Thessalonians 1. And then the next week, 1 Thessalonians 2. It'll be 5 weeks in Thessalonians because there's 5 chapters, and we'll move into 2 Thessalonians. But I wanted to write an overview lesson. So this is not in the curriculum. This is the lesson right here. This is the only place you'll find it. It's limited edition copies. I will autograph yours Wednesday night if you want me to. And it's an overview and an introduction to 1 Thessalonians. So let's go through it real quick, and let me get you acquainted, give you some ideas, and then we'll talk more Wednesday night. All right? So I thought a great introduction, a great quiz would simply be, tell me everything you know about 1 Thessalonians, right? Everything you know. Who wrote it? Who did he write it to? When did he write? I mean, whatever they can come up with. Maybe they can quote a favorite verse. I think "Pray Without Ceasing's" in there somewhere. Right? They can pray. They could anything they can come up with, just to see what they know. If you could arrange it into group work, which you got to be careful with that with the social distancing, you could put them in groups and give them 5 minutes. They could look in their Bibles. If they've got a good study Bible, it usually has a little history of the book, or they could Google it real quick. That could be dangerous, but they could Google it, see what they find. And the idea is you're just trying to get them to begin engaging with the book of 1 Thessalonians. And you're going to make the point that these Thessalonians are 2 of the most helpful book in all of the Bible for Christians. Very, very relevant. Of course, all the scripture is relevant, but 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians is very relevant. I want you to tell them in the introduction that what we're going to be doing is work through a chapter a week, because if you look now all the way to the end of your lesson in the application is going to be challenging them to, hey, this coming week, spend time in 1 Thessalonians 1. Read it several times. Study it in your study Bible, or get you a commentary on 1 Thessalonians and study it. So I'm going to tell them at the very beginning, this is what we're going to do, so that I can circle back at the end and tell them what I want them to do. All right. Because they'll get so much more out of it if they'll spend the time during the week studying the chapter before they get there. So here's the Bible studies. Let's see here, 3, 4 simple points right here. Good overview. First of all is its city. Got you an idea there. Use the maps. Use the maps. Have them open their Bible to the very back. Nobody ever looks at the back, but look at the maps and show them where Thessalonica is. Show them where it fit on Paul's missionary journey specifically. And you're going to give these basic, fundamental facts about the city there. That's in letters A through E. Now, letter E is important because it's a strategic city. That's why it's good to show them the map. When they know about the city, look at letter D, that it was in the lap of the Roman Empire, had a big population. It fit right into Paul's strategy. Paul had a strategy for planting churches and reaching people with the gospel. Now, a very relevant tie-in is this entire month we'll be having missionaries that are here, that are going to parts of the country. So I go to see Larry Allred. You know what he does? He went to a critical city on the Yucatan Peninsula, Merida, with about 2 million people. And he has a specific strategy to plant churches. You go see John Barnes in Costa Rica. When you go to church planting missionaries, there's a strategy. And Paul had a strategy. We can see that throughout the book of Acts where we read about it. All right. So it's important to make that point. Then point number 2 is its church. Now here's where you're going to start diving into scripture, because we have the history. We have 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, which is the exact letters to those people, but we have the history of that back in the book of Acts, specifically chapters 16 and 17. So you're going to go back there and you're going to take them through that. Now you're going to probably want to spend some time reading Acts 17 and really diving into that. And you would choose some specific verses to read as you tell the story of how Paul came there, how he planted that church, how he had to have a quick exit strategy because he was facing suffering and persecution. And then how did 1 Thessalonians come to be? Because what we see in letter G there, Paul eventually sent Timothy back to check on him, and he brings this good report, which precipitates this letter. Number 3, its purpose. So we see 5 reasons, and the 5 reasons are letter B, C, D, E, and F. All right. So you've got chapter 1. One of the reasons he wrote was to express thanks and encourage the people. Now you could read chapter 1 and pick just one verse, maybe, where you see that point being made. You could do the same thing in chapter 2 and in chapter 4. And then you have these other 2 sort of overarching ideas. Paul was writing to deal with some problems in the church. And the main thing is he was trying to answer questions related to the second coming. Now, what you're going to see, and this is where we get down here in number 4, is that the theme of 1st and 2nd Thessalonians is the second coming of Christ. All right. Now, before we get to there, look at letter G on point 3. Always remind your people that these books were written to real people. They were living in a real world with real problems, encountering real difficulties, right? One of the main principles of having good hermeneutics and study of the scripture is I'm trying to understand what this book said to the original audience. What was Paul specifically trying? If I was sitting in the church at Thessalonica, how would I have taken this in? That's really important because we want to keep that and preserve that, right? And the theme there is the second coming. All right. So now, letter C, you're going to do some good Bible study because it has 5 chapters. And it's interesting. At the end of every chapter, there's a reference to the second coming of Christ. So you're going to look each one up, but each one has a point. Chapter 1, verse 10 is a saving truth. 19 and 20 in chapter 2 is a stimulating truth. Chapter 3, verse 13, a stabilizing, a strengthening, a sanctifying truth. And I want them to see that. Maybe have them go through and underline those and mark those in their Bible. And then letter D is just a good note to help them. Now, if they're coming on Sunday night, they already get this because pastor's talking about prophecy. But remember that the return of the Lord has 2 phases, all right? You have the rapture, all right, where we meet Christ in the air. And then you have the return of Christ where he comes and his feet actually hit the ground. 1 Thessalonians primarily deals with the rapture. 2 Thessalonians deals with what we refer to as the revelation. Christ is revealed on the earth, comes back with his saints. So you want to keep those separate as we're going through as you make the right applications. And then the application of this lesson, as I already referred to earlier, to really challenge them to get the most out of this. And the way you get the most out of it is not just showing up on Sunday morning, but spending time through the week. You know, next week we're going to talk about 1 Thessalonians 1. So read it, study it, get you its commentary, spend some time, and challenge them to dig into the chapter and come ready, not just to hear, but to participate in the lesson next week. All right, that's all I've got for you on this one. I hope that helps you out a little bit. And I will see you Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Wednesday night for our teachers meeting, our monthly teachers meeting in the choir rehearsal room. All right, if there's anything you need from me at all, feel free to give me a call, and I will see you soon. God bless.